I'm Daniel Gross, and this is the number. The number today is 96,000. That is the disappointing number of payroll jobs that were created in August. Andrew Romano, one of our political correspondents here at Newsweek Daily Beast, joins us to discuss the political implications of this. Obviously, the jobs report is always a big economic number, but coming on the heels of President Obama's speech, there's only one more report to go. This has a huge political import. Does this change anything?
You know what, I don't think it changes anything. I think it's a message problem for Obama. He wanted to come out of his convention acceptance speech with kind of positive momentum, and having a disappointing jobs report the morning after really steps on that. That's going to be what everyone's talking about, as opposed to the message that he tried to deliver. So it's the problem in that sense, but I think that sort of the economic bad news, the kind of stagnation is baked in at this point. People are familiar with that, and a top-line number in a jobs report is not going to change how people feel. It's about how people feel and how the people they know in their community who don't have jobs.
Right.
I think people are familiar with that.
And we should keep in mind, 96,000, it could have just as easily been 0 or 200,000. This is a base of 131 million workers. These numbers are always revised. They're going to be revised 4 weeks from now, so it's difficult to make too much, but they really do have a important sort of symbolic power. Now, Obama knew this number yesterday. The White House gets this data the day before. Did you detect anything in the speech and in the rhetoric and the way he talked about the economy and jobs that indicated he knew that this number was going to be not so hot?
It's an interesting question, and I think a lot of pundits are going to say today, in retrospect, that they could tell. But, you know, when he was giving the speech, not so much. The one thing looking back, because hindsight is 20/20, is that he didn't really talk all that much about his jobs plan. Mm-hmm. He does have the American Jobs Act, which he proposed, and which, you know, private estimates say could add 2 million jobs. It's not going to get through Congress before the election. So I think that the administration, the campaign, made a calculated judgment, knowing these jobs numbers, that they're not going to harp on these emergency measures and say, we're going to try to, this is what we're trying to do in response to the bad news. I think they kind of tried to brush the bad news to the side and talk about the long-term vision.
And it does. That is kind of, unemployment is a major crisis. It's not just the 8.1% unemployment rate. It's the U6, which takes into account people who are working part-time but want to be working full-time, people who are discouraged, people who want to drop out of the workforce. That's close to 15%. And you didn't get a story from him about, we're going to do infrastructure and put these number of people back to work. Their narrative seems to be, if we can just sort of avoid collapse and real devastating things, the private sector will do its thing, which it has been doing, but not to a sufficient degree to really bring employment down. And so the question now is, for Romney, who had been sort of sidelined this week, and a lot of his economic message had been sidelined, does this provide sort of the opening for him to kind of get back on that horse?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's kind of a sad thing to say, but economic bad news is good news for Romney. That's what the Republicans are banking on. Anytime you've got the top headline being, a bad jobs report or unemployment, Romney can seize on that and drive the message he wants to drive, which is that Obama hasn't turned this economy around, I can. I mean, that's his bottom line message for the campaign.
So we're hearing a lot of that in the next 60 days. If it's the first Friday of the month, it's Payroll Jobs Friday. I'm Daniel Gross, and this is The Number.